Okay, we're going to be looking at the surface area of a cylinder, and you can see right behind this. I didn't realize that until now. So a cylinder is a lot like a prism, which we looked at, but the difference is that instead of having polygon bases, it has circles, okay, or ellipses or ovals, okay. Generally, we look at this kind in geometry, but you can actually tilt. So if you thought about this being a stack of pennies, and then you kind of pushed all the pennies over, it could look like this. Or if we had an in-ground pool, it might look something like this, or above ground. I guess it doesn't matter. They're not always circles. Very rarely circles, actually. So all of these are actually cylinders, but we generally talk about the right circular cylinder, which looks like this. Okay. So there's a formula for this, which is great. We always like when there's a formula because we can just plug in the formula and get an answer. So I want to kind of talk about the formula really quick so you understand where does all of this crazy formula come from? Okay, so if we're looking at a cylinder, we've got circles on each end, connected by lines. Think about it like a Coke can, right? Or a cup. There are three pieces to this, right? So if we want to find the surface area of this, then we would add three things together. We would add the top circle, which, if I knew what r was, I could call pi r squared. And the bottom circle, which has to be the same size, so another pi r squared, plus the can, like the actual wrapping of the can, okay? And so we have to think about, what does this mean? Like, what shape does it become when I unwrap it? Well, if you imagine this as like a roll of wrapping paper, I think you can understand, like if you were to start unrolling it, that it would actually be flat, and then you would unroll it, and you would actually end up with a rectangle, okay? And so actually the third piece that I want to add is a rectangle. So if we were to call the height, this guy right here, then this would be the height of my rectangle, or this would be the height of my rectangle, okay? The problem is what is this? Well, it turns out it's not so hard to find, because it's going to be however much I unwrapped, which is just going to be this length right here. Oops, you can't see that. This length right here, all unwrapped. And we have a name for that. We call that circumference. It's the perimeter of the circle. Okay? And so we know the circumference formula. The circumference formula is 2 times pi times the radius. So if I want to find the area of the rectangular piece, I just do base 2 times pi times the radius times height. And I end up with 2 pi r h. And so I can find the surface area of a cylinder with a nice easy formula. That is pi r squared plus pi r squared. So one of these plus one of these means I have 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r times the height. Right, where this is the top and bottom, and this is all the outside stuff. So here's my formula, and because I know my formula, right, I can just use that formula to find the examples in the notes. So if I'm looking at this very first example here, let me just zoom in so that we can get a closer look here. Okay, so I have a formula. Surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi times radius squared plus 2 pi times radius times height. And height is going to be this length right here, we imagined here, which is 8. And radius is going to be this length right here, which is r. So, talk about quick and easy. We just do 2 pi times 3 squared plus 2 pi times 3 times 8, where I'm replacing all of the r's in the formula with whatever r equals, and I'm replacing h in the formula with whatever the height of the cylinder is. And then really and truly at this point, all I have to do is go to the calculator. Now you do have to be careful, because if you're going to work on IXL, which I hope you are, then they want you to use 3.14. But we don't have to. We can just use the pi symbol. Okay? So I'm just going to type this right into the calculator. So I'm going to type 2 pi times 3 squared plus 2 pi times 3 times 8, and get an answer that is 207.35. So my surface area for my cylinder is 207.35, and then whatever the units happen to be, which I didn't give you, which shame on me. Do be careful, because you aren't always given the radius. Sometimes you are given the diameter, and you have to determine the radius. But that's not too bad. So again, surface area formula for a cylinder, ooh, that doesn't look like a cylinder, is 2 times pi times the radius squared plus 2 times pi times the radius times the height. Right, so I just need to determine r and h. Well, this one's easy. Here's my height. Could also be here. Doesn't matter, though, because whether we're looking at the side or the middle, it's still the height. And the radius isn't going to be all of this, but rather half of it. And we know half of 16. Half of 16 is 8. So that makes my radius 8. So I can just plug it in. 2 times pi times the radius squared plus 2 times pi times the radius times the height. And I'm going to go to my calculator. And I'm going to be supremely lazy. I'm going to go up here. I already typed this formula in, and I'm going to hit enter on it, and it's going to copy it down into my calculator. And I'm going to replace my radius with 8. And I'm going to replace my height with 21. And then I'm just going to hit enter. And here's my surface area for my cylinder. So we have 1457.6. Ooh, 98991. So this is that tricky rounding, so I'll do it for you. This 8 rounds this 9, which has to round this 6. So this is actually 1457.70 for your surface area. Okay, I really hope that helps. Good luck and have a great day.